Welcome you and to officially open this special meeting of the Toowoomba Regional Council to adopt the 2020-21 budget. I'd like to thank all those who are in the room. I'd like to recognise all our staff who are here, the input that they've had, but I would also like to acknowledge everyone watching on Council's social media channels as well. This is a very important meeting in the life of this organisation. Can I open by acknowledging the Aboriginal parties whose songlines traversed these lands we meet on today, the Western Waka Waka, the Guybil, the Djarawar people, and also the Bigambal people who represent the western areas of our region. And can I pay respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. It's probably a time just to very briefly take a deep breath and realise how fortunate we are, those of you who are sitting around this table, to be representing and working for the future of this community. We're very blessed, fortunate, lucky, whichever way you want to put it, to be part of the Toowoomba region. It's also a time when I recognise the pioneers of this community who built Toowoomba. And I also recognise those people who all those years ago fought for the freedoms that we sometimes take for granted. We'll move to item 2 on the agenda, the attendance, including apologies, leave of absence and granting of leave of absence, and I'm pretty sure that everybody's present and correct today. Thank you very much for that. So, councillors, before we go much further, we'll move to item 3, which is the adoption of the operational plan for 2020-21. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Councillors, CEO, our executive staff, other staff present here today, the media and those in the gallery, both in person and watching online. It is a requirement under relevant legislation for local government to prepare and by resolution adopt an operational plan for the financial year. The operational plan is focused on the delivery of the objectives of the community's long-term vision and corporate plan. The operational plan to be adopted today is in fact the first plan to be guided by the 2019-2024 corporate plan. 5 strategic goals, of which are people, place, sustainability, prosperity and performance. The preparation of the operational plan sees 190 actions, 409 milestones and 431 key performance indicators. And this has been achieved through collaborative participation of Council's executive management team, managers and staff right across the organisation. Councillors have indeed reviewed and provided feedback to ensure that the 2020-2021 annual budget has appropriate operational measures to see its success. And in doing so, Mr Mayor and councillors, by way of moving the adoption of the operational plan, I'd particularly like to thank and acknowledge the Acting General Manager of Finance and Business Strategy, Anne-Marie Ryan, and particularly point out the efforts of Rosie Bugg, the Principal Service Improvement Officer, and her team for what has been a growth phase for this council over a number of years to get to this point of a very sophisticated, modern and accurate operational plan, which can indeed be reviewed at any time through the year and if that arises. So, Mr Mayor, with those few words, it's my great pleasure then to move that the council adopt the 2020-2021 operational plan by attachment 1.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Is there a seconder? Councillor Shine. Any comments? If not, close the debate and I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour of the adoption of the operational plan? Thank you very much. Carried unanimously. We move then to item 4, the adoption of the Toowoomba Regional Council's budget and revenue statement for 2021 financial year. And in framing, councillors, can I first recognise each and every one of you, which I've already done, recognise the staff recognise those people who are taking an interest in it today, whether it be in this room or whether it be online. My fellow councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to have the honour of tabling the Toowoomba Regional Council's 2020-2021 budget and operational plan. In framing the budget, TRC has been mindful of devising an additional stimulus package that we can offer to local businesses and suppliers completely independent of the state and the federal government. I will expand on that shortly, but our efforts are targeted and complementary to other assistance packages. And councillors, it was just today that the federal government announced a new $72 billion stimulus package for 66,000 projects to rebuild the nation in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. This, of course, is very welcome, especially the news that $1.5 billion is set aside to fast-track road and rail infrastructure projects, including the inland rail in our region. In the past 6 months, we have seen the most extraordinary events that I have certainly never seen in my term in local government. Our 2020-21 budget has been framed against global social and economic disruption caused by the ongoing corona pandemic, the likes of which we have not seen since the Great Depression of the 1930s. Closer to home, we in Australia and the Toowoomba region have experienced fires, minor floods and the ongoing effect of the prolonged drought. While Australians are accustomed to natural disasters, few of us have experienced such an incredible sequence of events that we've been going through in the last 6 months. Council is aware of the financial, social and emotional toll and the disruption that residents have experienced and will face in the coming months. In our role in local government as community builders, I'm proud to announce that today Toowoomba Regional Council is unveiling a $567 million financial plan that will ensure we maintain and upgrade existing services and facilities while planning for a brighter future across one of Queensland and Australia's most productive and most desirable areas. I'm positive that today's program will build on our earlier economic stimulus packages that were designed to complement state and federal government economic relief measures to help community recover from the lockdown restrictions as they continue to ease. I want to thank those in charge during the caretaker period and those decisions that were made in the very early weeks of this council to support the packages of the state and federal government. The pandemic forced councils to reshape our budget plans to focus sharply on how we can directly support communities across our region. Fortunately, Council's solid financial footing has allowed us to develop a $215 million capital program along with an operating budget component of $352 million. This includes $165 million regular 12-month calendar of capital works. In addition, Council has devised a dedicated $50 million pandemic response investment program that comprises of 64 projects that will be accelerated to stimulate economic activity across the Toowoomba region. Council will invite local firms and suppliers to bid for those work programs on essential infrastructure and facilities upgrade right across our region. We want local workers and suppliers to deliver projects that originally were scheduled for future budgets. Stimulating local employment is one of the most constructive and immediate ways Council can revive and sustain our regional economy. It's an appropriate response that is deliberately framed to rebuild and revitalise our communities without waiting for outside financial support for approval. This Council's recent initiatives to enhance our procurement policy in order to offer local firms the best chance to do business with us. Council will seek quotes from local suppliers only for procurement under $200,000. Give local suppliers an additional 10% price variance for purchases up to $50,000. Give local suppliers an additional 5% price variance for purchases greater than $50,000 but less than $200,000. We will continue to follow the public tender or contractual arrangement exceptions contained in Local Government Regulations 2012, S223 and S235 for procurement with an expected value greater than $200,000. In addition, Council will give a further 2% price advantage to local suppliers in regional areas. That is, all areas inside the Toowoomba region boundary that are outside the city. That is, postcode 4350. Anything outside that will receive this support for any project up to $200,000. Based on our past prudent financial management, Council's Twin Capital Works program have been structured in line with the long-term financial sustainability program parameters. Council is mindful of maintaining a responsible and calculated financial approach in its budget planning and delivery. A capital allocation of $109 million for asset renewal in this budget emphasises Council's strong focus on investing in infrastructure renewal programs across our extensive water, wastewater and road networks, plus other community assets to look after what we have built in the past. In the coming financial year, this investment in asset renewal will exceed our depreciation expenses, which further underlines our determination to renew essential infrastructure that services our community. Council has a legal and a moral obligation to maintain its existing infrastructure, and our ability to manage our $4.58 billion asset base across our 13,000 square kilometres is the key performance indicators which we will be judged by the Queensland Audit Office and more broadly and ultimately the Queensland Parliament. In addition, $78 million is set aside for upgrade projects, while $28 million has been allocated for new capital projects across the region. We have a responsibility to plan for maintenance and upgrade of our existing infrastructure to guarantee the long-term viability of essential services to residents. We are mindful that every new asset comes with it an ongoing maintenance cost. Council has carefully considered balancing outlays on renewal and upgrade programs with the demonstrated need for new facilities and infrastructure. As a result, there is a keen focus around the timely delivery of projects listed in the annual Capital Works program. Council's overall operation and capital expenditure parameters are based on our long-term financial sustainability plan, which is not only adopted by Council, but is overseen by the Department of Local Government, the Queensland Treasury Corporation and the Queensland Audit Office. Budget planning in line with our plan has enabled Council to deliver a 2.5% increase in general rate. Disciplined planning has allowed Council to deliver a consistent average general rate increase for the past 6 years. This is a measured and a responsible rate rise, with a net overall increase in rates and charges of 2.95% for an urban residential property. This will mean that most residential ratepayers will have an increase of $95.19 per year, or $1.83 a week after discount, which includes all rates and all charges. Today's budget is the result of considered planning employed by Council over the past 12 years to ensure we have a strong financial footing to enable future councils to confidently service our growing region, with the added financial strength to counter unforeseen events such as the one that we're under now, the coronavirus pandemic. Going into the 2020-21 financial year, Council is budgeting for an operating surplus of $72,000. The Queensland Treasury Corporation has maintained Council's credit rating as sound with a neutral outlook. And in terms of credit ratings, that's a particularly good one. The budget reflects priorities outlined in Council's operational plan, 2020-21 financial year, and our corporate plan 2019-2024. Few organisations deliver the range of services that local government provide for their customers every day, from safe drinking water, sewerage, rubbish collection, roads, parks, a host of amenities such as libraries, galleries, community and cultural centres, to a range of planning activities and services to safeguard public health and safety, among many others. In the coming year, major areas of capital expenditure will include $64.98 million for roads, bridges, footpaths, bikeways and drainage projects, $55.58 million for water projects, $14.87 million for wastewater projects, $16.07 million for waste services, $19.05 million for parks and recreation projects, $27.66 million for community services and facilities, and $16.79 million for business strategy and operations. Supplying safe drinking water to all residents is at the forefront of Council's planning. It's an essential and a non-negotiable service. Striking the balance between ensuring water security and affordability is a key consideration of our region's medium and long-term water solutions. Council has brought expert and independent third-party advice from our consultant engineers who help SEQ Water prepare their water security documentation. They are now helping Toowoomba with our Water Future strategy. Council is responsible for a water supply network of more than 2,046 kilometres of water pipeline that services more than 62,400 residential, commercial and council properties. The network supplies drinking water to Toowoomba and the surrounding towns of Oakey, John Darien, Highfields, Crow's Nest, Kingsthorpe, Gary Junction, Maringandan, Wairima, Westbrook, Hodson Vale and Gumbunji. We're also responsible for more than 1,380 kilometres of wastewater pipelines. Council has supplied more than 13,835 megalitres of treated drinking water to connected properties in this financial year up until the end of May 2020. Our focus on water security has seen Council budget for a continuing reliance on our water supply insurance policy, the Wivenhoe Pipeline, which allows us to pump some 10,000 megalitres from the Wivenhoe Dam to our Crestbrook Dam to service users connected to the network. We have budgeted to lift the full allocation in the 2021 year. Council has completed an initial 12 months of continuous pumping in which we lifted 9,053 megalitres. We are currently servicing the pipeline in anticipation of resuming pumping in early July 2020. While this agreement offers water security, Council is working with other levels of government to plan for alternative water sources to cater for our long-term needs based on projected population, industry growth and other needs. I expect a decision from the state government on the feasibility of the Southern Pipeline that will supply water to Cambodia, Nobby, Greenmount and Clifton, as well as finally connect to Warwick in the Southern Downs Regional Council area. The pipeline will ensure water security in times of drought. An immediate priority is securing long-term water security solutions for Clifton, Nobby, Greenmount and Cambodia. I'll continue to meet with mayors of surrounding local governments, including representatives from Tenterfield in New South Wales, to discuss new water supply options. The drought affects us all, regardless of state borders, and we must look for cooperative agreements to deliver safe and secure new water supplies well into the future. The ongoing drought continues to affect the lives of many people in the land and their wider communities. We as a council are mindful of the physical, mental and financial effects of the prolonged drought, and we will review our current decision that defers rate notice payments for eligible producers. Council's sound financial base has contributed to the region's expansion. The Toowoomba region growth continues to be underpinned largely by nationally significant infrastructure projects, namely the Melbourne to Brisbane Inland Rail project, likely to be associated with an upgrade of the South Western Rail network system, which continues to gather momentum in southern Queensland. The Toowoomba region's decade-long run of growth, which saw the gross regional product break the $11 billion mark for the first time in the year ended June 30, 2019, with annual growth averaging in excess of 3%, will be seriously challenged by the wider downturn caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Council is determined to address and overcome the effects of this disruption with the assistance of higher levels of government, and will also with the support of our partner organisations such as TISBE, the Toowoomba Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and their regional counterparts. We will work with partners across the region to deliver an increased range of training support to businesses that will assist them to recover from the pandemic and rebuild employment. Continued investment and confidence from the private sector across many different sectors of our economy underpins jobs and will be a vital component of restoring our enviable growth trends. The private sector has played a very significant role in investment and job creation in this area in years gone, and no doubt will continue to do so in the future. The breadth of our regional economy is one of the greatest strengths, and I'm confident we can harness our combined assets to weather the current downturn and to position our region for renewed growth. There has never been a more important time for all of us to shop, trade and tour locally. Council will continue to play its part to offer extra support for local firms and operators through our procurement policy. We will work with its economic development partners to leverage off major infrastructure projects and private investment projects such as the newly approved Regional Trade Distribution Centre at Toowoomba Wellcamp Airport, a second weekly freight service to Hong Kong, a new CBD hotel and the early planning around the new Toowoomba Hospital. The new hospital will strengthen Toowoomba's standing as a major regional health hub and will unlock additional investment in our city's northern entrance. Council will continue to support and invest in the growth of the Toowoomba CBD, including the Railway Parklands Priority Development Area, by working with land and property owners, developers, investors, government and professional advisors. Council's temporary Toowoomba CBD development incentive policy is aimed at encouraging larger scale quality new developments and investment across the CBD and the PDA, especially for the adaptive reuse of heritage listed buildings. The wider Toowoomba CBD, incorporating the existing Toowoomba Hospital and the PDA, provides employment for 18,000 workers and generates more than $2 billion in value add. It's significant to note that South West Queensland should not be overlooked as a supporter of our CBD, given the importance of it. This is highlighted by the completion of more than 40 projects that have been valued at around about the $850 million over the last 10 years in our CBD. The City Centre Master Plan has been a catalyst for a range of public and private investments, and they include laneway development, public realm, parklands and public art. Our CBD, ladies and gentlemen, has matured. The investment in long-stay accommodation, including the Oaks, Burke and Wills Hotel and the Quest Apartments, will attract business travellers and visitors, further supporting the day and night economies of our city. Council has great faith in the CBD and sees the potential to support more activity in the missing middle, the shop-top living conversions, to increase the number of residents in and around the CBD. This will provide a long-term economic and community benefit. Through my association with the Council of Mayors in South East Queensland, I will ensure that our region is positioned to benefit from projects associated with any continuation of the 2032 Olympic Games bid. Irrespective of the bid's success, there are longer-term benefits for member councils through the 45-minute region that is linked to a fast rail connection between Toowoomba and Brisbane. The ongoing SEQ City Deal process has the potential to facilitate new partnerships that could deliver projects and infrastructure that Council on its own could not achieve. Our magnificent escarpment offers great opportunities to attract tourists, whether they are interested in bushwalking, horse riding or mountain biking pursuits. Our region has previously hosted the Oceania mountain bike titles, and there is a great scope to develop appropriate areas for social riding and competition events. Our wider region, of course, has its unique towns, and their surrounding attractions are ready to welcome visitors. I echo the Premier's call that now is the time for Queenslanders to explore and truly appreciate the tourism jewel in our own backyard. In the past financial year to May, Council has received more than $28 million in grants, subsidies and contributions from state and federal government. While Council is grateful for these contributions, we enforce how dependent local government is on external funding. Council has framed this budget at a time when funding from higher levels of government remains a difficult source. I repeat my call for appropriate and equitable funding allocations from the higher levels of government to support Council programs of rolling out essential urban infrastructure. We, in local government, are the community builders. Councils right across Australia, including the this council, the Darling Downs and South West Council of Mayors, SEEK and ComSec, certainly backed the Australian Local Government Association's campaign calling for a fixed 1% of Commonwealth tax revenue to aid long-term financial planning. We're currently sitting at about 0.55 of 1%. Restoring this non-competitive funding stream would improve Council's targeted budget planning and offer great operational efficiency. Local government does not have the resources to shoulder the full cost of providing essential infrastructure to our growing communities, in addition with meeting residents' growing expectations across our other activities. We will continue to advocate for our fair share of funding to achieve our community goals and ambitions. External funding support will be needed if Council is to proceed with the next stage of the preparatory work for the Bridge Street Quarry Gardens. Council is determined to capitalise on a strong financial position to ensure we remain a destination of choice for families, business investors and tourists in Australia and overseas. We boast unlimited prospects, an enviable lifestyle with leading health and education resources across our safe and welcoming regions. I particularly wish to acknowledge the work done by so many people, and can I collectively thank the staff led by Brian Pidgeon, but can I selectively talk about the Deputy Mayor and Finance and Business Strategy Committee Chair, Councillor McDonald, Portfolio Leader Kerry Shine. I've seen the tremendous amount of time and effort that's gone into the preparation of this budget. Can I also thank the Acting General Manager of Finance and Business Strategy, Anne-Marie Ryan, the General Manager of Service Delivery and Sustainability, Arun Pratap, for their concerted efforts during our budget preparations. I also pay tribute to the former Finance and Business Strategy Committee Chair, Councillor Mike Williams, for his stewardship of Council's financial stability over so many years, and his portfolio leader in the previous term of Council, Councillor Megan O'Hara-Sullivan. The assistance of all these people and the assistance, the teamwork right around this table is an important part of when we find ourselves as a very strong and financially stable environment. I'm confident that our efforts, our combined efforts, will strengthen our rich traditions and ensure current and future generations take full advantage of our bold ambitions. Councillors, I'll invite Councillor McDonald to deliver his budget speech, please. Chair
Very much, Mr Mayor, councillors, and again acknowledge the CEO, executive staff, other members of staff, the gallery, media and those watching online. Today, ironically, marks almost 50 days of the new council, 2020 2024. And to say that we are breaking new ground in this budget preparation is accurate. And for that, I personally thank the Mayor and my fellow councillors for the vigour in which they have involved themselves in this process. On the 29th of April, Council endorsed Stage 1 of our response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The focus of Stage 1 was around financial relief measures. I'll reference these measures a little bit more detail shortly. They form part of the input for today's budget formation. The 2020-2021 budget presented today represents Stage 2 of the response to the pandemic. And the focus of Stage 2 is around financial stimulus measures with a new and innovative approach to our capital works program. The preparation of the budget presented here today began in October of last year under the stewardship of former Councillor Mike Williams and Portfolio Lead of Finance and Business Strategy, Councillor Megan O'Hara-Sullivan. This is a whole of council effort and led by Acting General Manager, Finance and Business Strategy, Anne-Marie Ryan, with support of her team and that of General Manager, Service Delivery and Sustainability, Arun Pratap, and his team. I personally thank Anne-Marie Ryan, Arun, for their efforts. My personal admiration for the staff in the Finance and Business Strategy Group continue to grow daily. And I'd particularly like to acknowledge Cathy Cray, the Principal Management Accountant, and Shane Morris, the Principal of Rates and Revenue, for the efforts of them and their staff in formulating today's budget papers. As the Mayor mentioned, this year we'll see Council invest some $567 million. It's a good, nice number, 5, 6 and 7, in the combined operation and capital budget. Council remains committed to sensible financial management, and the budget provides the balance between the impact on ratepayers and the future sustainability of our region. Council is no different to other organisations, or indeed households, where COVID-19 has forced change. Like so many impacted, we have needed to adapt to ensure that essential services are not impacted. For Council to maintain its long-term financial sustainability, as the Mayor mentioned, we will see a general rate rise of 2.5%. This increase is consistent with our previous financial plans and has enabled Council to provide support measures as we navigate through the pandemic as a community. The net increase from rates and charges amounts to an average $1.83 per week. It provides a forecast small surplus of approximately $72,000 that importantly meets the Queensland Treasury Corporation's requirements. Water security continues to be at the forefront of policy discussions for Council. This coming budget is the third year of a 5-year price path for water as a result of advice from Queensland Treasury Corporation that introduced a split pricing approach to maintain a financially sustainable water network. Therefore, we will see an increase in water rates for residential properties of 4.1% and 6% for non-residential properties. It's important to note, councillors, that Council's water business consists of $924 million in infrastructure, which requires a significant renewal and replacement investment. And this was primarily the contributor to the change in water pricing. My fellow councillors and I and our staff carefully consider the budget and are aware of the immense responsibility to balance the impact today on ratepayers with the decisions that affect the future sustainability of our region. The benefit of Council's rigorous financial planning is that it removes the volatility of rates and charges that may be experienced by other local authorities across the state. Council provided financial relief measures on the 29th of April, as I mentioned earlier, of some $10.5 million. This included a $125 rate relief, meaning that the average residential property saw no increase in their rates for the 2019-20 financial year. That's the current financial year. Now, Council made that decision with the knowledge that we will, in fact, have a deficit for the 19-20 financial year, with the eye clearly on our long-term financial sustainability. The budget will see the next pandemic response and has a focus on stimulating our local business that employs local people supporting local families. And this is the kicker. Council has, for the first time, separated our overall capital works program into two parts. The total capital works program is $215 million. As the Mayor mentioned, $165 million for usual annual capital works, and an additional $50 million structured as a pandemic response investment to provide genuine opportunities for the private sector. The purpose of this innovative capital works program is to stimulate local business that employs local people supporting local families who live in the region. The $50 million works program will see 64 shovel-ready projects made available to the private sector through our procurement arrangements from July 1, which was another motivation, councillors, as you will recall, for us to bring forward the budget to the 15th of June. Some of those programs in the pandemic, you'd be interested to note, the Highfields Library, Yarraman Pool upgrades, Millmerran Pool upgrades, Parenga Toilet Access Pathways, Kingsthorpe Recreation Reserve Field upgrades, Cambodia Hall Renewal program. This package with Council's amended procurement policy places extra weighting for local suppliers, giving local business the best possible opportunity to work with Council in the coming financial year. And I'm very pleased, councillors, to note, as you will have all seen in the operational plan, that governance for this $50 million pandemic capital works response will lie with service delivery and sustainability. And it's an item on our operational plan which will be assessed throughout the year. Council's budget will support the community during this challenging time, but thankfully will not leave a burden to ratepayers in the future. Council's capital program this year places a strong emphasis on the renewal, or if you like, the maintenance of council assets. And this is something, as a council, we've struggled with for the last few years. Council has committed $109 million to infrastructure renewal programs, $78 million allocated to planned upgrades. In comparison, this coming budget allocates $28 million to the construction of new infrastructure. Now, the significance of the $109 million should not be lost on those around the table. Council's significant investment in renewal activities achieves an asset sustainability ratio of 102%, exceeding the target of more than 90% set by the Queensland Government's sustainability guidelines for local government. If you like, it's a bit of catch up and get ahead, and that's the benefit of this additional $50 million pandemic response. As the Mayor stated, the Queensland Treasury Corporation has again maintained Council's credit rating as sound with a neutral outlook. This reflects our current financial strength and, importantly, our effectiveness and commitment to long-term financial planning. In this budget, councillors, we have bold ambitions to improve services in a financially responsible way. With those words, Mayor, I'd invite other councillors, if they choose to say some words.
Councillor Shine.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm pleased to adopt the acknowledgements and the thanks mentioned by the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor, and I of course support this year's budget delivered in extraordinary pandemic times because it provides in its capital works program, and in particular the additional extraordinary $50 million pandemic response investment, the economic stimulus necessary for local business to recover from the worst economic downturn in Australia since the Great Depression. In doing so, I support it because it provides the jobs essential to enable Toowoomba regional families to prosper in these difficult times. I support it because it, along with the recent $125 rebate, keeps the rate increase to a modest level, but ensuring council jobs are not put in jeopardy. And I support it because it provides much needed expenditure on capital works in all parts of the region. Some examples being the upgrade of the ramps and the changing rooms at the pool at Yarraman, the wastewater treatment plant at Crow's Nest, the refurbished pool shell at Millmerran, the additional water trunk mains for Pittsworth, the Campbell Street footpath upgrade for Oakey, a museum shed for Clifton, the initial works to upgrade the Carla Crescent Park at Westbrook, a sewer upgrade for Canberra, and many other examples. And I support it because it provides the catalyst for the jobs of the future in finally funding real support for the Quarry Gardens project, not only for future jobs, but large-scale tourist numbers benefiting the entire region's economy. I want to mention that the Capital Works program is responsive to the community needs, known as a result of the community surveys taken over the past couple of years. I want to pay tribute to the council staff and the way they have coped throughout the pandemic. 558 employees are working remotely, and council has been able to continue to deliver essential services. Support for our employees continues. For example, the Flu Vax program has had a record response this year, with over 800 staff opting to receive the vaccination. Council's internal governance training continues, an example being in the past 12 months, over 1,200 staff have attended training in matters such as code of conduct and anti-bullying. I want to acknowledge particularly the Council's preparedness to foster apprentices and traineeships. Council will be employing 112 locals from the region as apprentices, cadets, trainees and graduates. The Toowoomba region is proud of its rich traditions, one of which being the first free settlement by Europeans in Queensland. And it is confident of its economic, social and cultural future with bold ambitions like the Quarry Gardens project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shine. Move then to the other portfolios. We'll move to Councillor Von Hoff.
Thanks, Mayor Antonio. I also would like to adopt the acknowledgement and thanks of yourself and Deputy Mayor McDonald. And further to your comments, I'd like to say that water security is the highest priority for the Toowoomba Regional Council. It's the most valuable and fought-over resource of the future, and I can assure people that our minds are turned to the future. Council understands the need for both long-term and immediate water security for the entire region, and this has been reflected with almost $90 million dedicated to water and waste service capital projects in this budget. A key project this year will be the Southern Trunk Pipeline, and this will help provide water security to the towns of Clifton, Nobby, Greenmount and Canberra. There is $4.5 million set aside in this budget to begin that work. And prior to undertaking this work, we will continue our energetic and persistent discussions with both the Southern Downs Regional Council and the state government to determine the further need and feasibility of a pipeline to connect our two regions. In Clifton, we've committed $2 million toward ongoing bore water quality testing. We want to make sure that people who are in Clifton are able to turn on the tap and have the same water quality and security as someone who turns on the tap in Toowoomba. At the moment, the most reliable source for water delivered to Clifton is for it to be trucked in. That's a massive logistical undertaking and it comes at considerable expense, but we take our responsibilities to serve everyone in the region very seriously. We will keep carting in water until we're able to connect residents to the Toowoomba bulk water supply and continue to monitor water quality from the local bore field. As well as looking at opportunities to increase water security, Council recognises that water is a limited resource and is focused on refining its practices where possible. This year, I'm pleased to say that Council will begin testing its Smart Water Meter program. Through Smart Water Meter technology, residents will be able to monitor their water usage and identify leaks, and this will lead to savings. Council will continue to progress work on its waste infrastructure plan in the upcoming year as it completes the Clifton Waste Management Facility. With the existing site reaching capacity, $11.2 million has been allocated for the redevelopment of the Clifton Tier 2 Waste Management Facility, and the works Those works are expected to be completed in the first half of next year. In other areas of the region, we have a number of landfill sites nearing capacity, so they will also need to be upgraded to transfer stations. As such, we have set aside $420,000 for Yarraman, $735,000 in Millmerran, and $420,000 in the Southern Growth Corridor to begin detailed design of new facilities. This year, Council will finalise the design and construction work at Watala so it's able to accept power from the landfill gas generator. This is an innovative and exciting project which will utilise the gas to generate electricity to offset about 60% of the power consumption at Watala. In setting the budget for this year, Council knows that water security for the region is no simple fix. The region's location at the top of the Great Dividing Range means water needs to be moved uphill, which is expensive and poses a challenge from an engineering perspective. Across 13,000 square kilometres, Council has challenges associated with topography, water security and ageing water infrastructure, but we're committed to delivering the best possible service we can, innovation and competent, confident planning for the future. Thank you.
Councillor Summerfield, just my comment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Jeff, for all your acknowledgements as well, and I certainly support those. Council has placed a major focus on renewing water and waste infrastructure throughout the region, something I am very passionate about. With our increasing population, Council needs to provide long-term water security, but it's equally important that we balance between providing new infrastructure and ensuring ongoing maintenance and replacement of our existing assets. Council will spend nearly $18 million accelerating the Perseverance Raw Water Main Replacement Project and, importantly, upgrade the Perseverance Pump Station. This critical water infrastructure network upgrade enhances safe and reliable water operations. At the Mount Kynoch Water Treatment Plant, Council will spend $3 million on an essential stage capacity upgrade. In Crow's Nest, we're constructing a wastewater treatment plant which will replace the existing lagoons, a great environmental improvement for this town. In addition to this, we will be replacing the Gowrie Creek trunk sewer with increased capacity. Irongate, Brookstead, Pilton and Quinalow landfill sites will be rehabilitated this financial year, yet another good environmental outcome for our region. This has been a challenging budget for Council under unique circumstances, but it's one that concentrates on the importance of asset management and renewal while keeping our eye on future growth in the Toowoomba region.
Thanks very much. Councillor Carol Taylor, would you like to do the infrastructure?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, I would. I'd like to recognise yourself, Deputy Mayor Jeff McDonald and councillors, and recognise our council staff teams for all their hard work under challenging circumstances. Particularly, I'd like to recognise our ISG teams led by our General Manager Mike Brady, and recognise also our Portfolio Lead, Councillor Melissa Taylor, and former Portfolio Leader, Councillor James O'Shea. The highlights of the infrastructure budget are $33 million on the asset renewal of the road network across the Toowoomba region, $2.7 million to widening the next section of the Bowenville-Moola Road, and $2.8 million to commence the Russell Street Urban Renewal Project. As our Mayor has mentioned, over the past 12 months our communities have experienced drought, fire and floods, and now we're in the first year of a new term of council and we have the added challenge of navigating our way through a coronavirus pandemic. During this stressful time, it's crucial we unite to get through these challenges, and I believe in investing in improving and maintaining our infrastructure is the best way to do this. Investing in major projects and continued maintenance and renewal of our assets is the key to getting our communities going again. To do this, we're investing $65 million in our road and drainage capital budget, $13.6 million in the fleet and logistics, and a continuation of operational spend, ensuring a commitment to road safety across the Toowoomba region. Council has committed $2.28 million to complete the Tummerville Road Bridge renewal, where we are replacing the single-lane timber bridge, which has been out of order for probably 5 or 6 years, with a new multi-span 2-lane concrete bridge. The Australian Government has contributed $700,000 towards this project as part of its Bridges Renewal program. We've allocated a further $2.7 million to begin work on the next section of upgrading and widening the Bowenville-Moola Road, which is one of the key freight routes in our region and linking with Western Downs' key freight route. We have 7 feedlots there, cattle feedlots, 2 of which have applied for expansion, and 4 piggery operations along that freight route. This investment will not only create jobs, but strengthens the economic growth of key industries in the Toowoomba region and its neighbours. Council will undertake a number of upgrade work projects this year, including the John Darien St Ruth Road, which is worth $3.2 million and also links with the Western Downs route, as well as the completion of sealing works on the Wairema-Cambodia Road, which will cater for increased heavy vehicle traffic and improved amenity along the road. We're focused on strengthening our regional areas with agriculture being the backbone of our region. These important projects are vital to the economic growth of our country areas and will not only enhance productivity for our rural residents, but will improve the overall road safety in these areas. As part of the revitalisation of the Toowoomba CBD, $2.8 million has been allocated to commence the urban renewal project for the Russell Street precinct, which is an important component of the CBD with strong heritage and cultural significance. The Toowoomba City Centre Master Plan identifies Russell Street as a catalytic project. This financial year, we will complete repair works on our roads impacted by floods in December 2018 as part of the disaster recovery funding arrangements. Work will also commence through the DRFA to allow for reconstruction of our essential infrastructure damaged during heavy rainfall events almost over the entire TR region in February 2020. A preliminary budget of $3.14 million has been provided to commence work on the 2020 program. Through the Australian Government's Black Spot funding, Council is commencing safety improvements on the Kingsthorpe Hayden Road, $630,000, and the Yallingur Lilyvale Road, $500,000, and completing works at the intersection of the Perth and Coho Streets, which is Black Spot funding for $500,000. Council is helping to improve safety at our schools as well with the School Transport Infrastructure Program. As part of this work, $1.03 million will go towards a new off-street parking facility which will service the Glenvale Primary School. We'll also complete work on a $420,000 signalisation upgrade at the South and Burton Streets intersection to address the safety concerns for students and commuters at the Harrisdown State Primary and High Schools. As part of our asset renewal, Council has committed more than $33 million to rehabilitating and resealing our sealed road network, for gravel resheeting and for renewing asphalt services across the Toowoomba region. This is a significant spend and underlines our commitment to maintaining and improving the road network, particularly in regional areas, something I've advocated for every year since I've been on Council. It's vital the residents in this region have a reasonable level of access to the road network regardless of where they live. In addition to this, we'll be undertaking a number of rural road seals and rural town upgrade projects, which will be outlined by our portfolio leader, Councillor Melissa Taylor. After much soul searching, I will support this budget. I have never not supported a budget, but I must make a comment. COVID-19 is as yet an unknown as it impacts on our community. The global financial crisis, which took 10 years for Australia's economy to recover, and COVID may take as long or longer. Building and upgrading infrastructure is the way to stimulate that recovery. I believe Quarry Gardens is a dream that most of us share, but to fund the rehabilitation for $3 million in the pandemic recovery budget at a time of great stress in our community doesn't meet the brief for essential infrastructure. Council has made the former quarry site safe by spending $600,000 over 2 financial years. Essential infrastructure projects across our entire region have been taken out of this pandemic recovery to fund the Quarry Garden rehabilitation. We do not need more green space at this point, and neither do we need more mountain biking areas at the expense of essential infrastructure projects across the region. I'd like to remind our community that these are challenging times. We understand that on council, and I want to reassure that council's right behind you. I want everyone to remember that when you leave the house, every journey begins and ends on a local road. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks very much. Councillor Melissa Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As our wonderful region continues to develop and grow, it's imperative we facilitate this growth in the right manner, thoughtfully, considerately, and fiscally responsibly. Therefore, I too support the adoption of the budget put forth today. We live in a beautiful corner of the world, and to enable us to continue our paralleled lifestyle, it's vital we continue to provide residents with the essential services and facilities we need to maintain our way of life. As part of our planned growth, we need to ensure our parking options are innovative and continue to meet the current and future needs of our motorists. In line with the Toowoomba City Centre parking strategy, this financial year we will invest in and begin the development phase for new smart parking technology across the Toowoomba CBD parking precinct, which will enable Council to more effectively manage future parking needs. In addition to this, throughout the CBD, we will continue our program of upgrading assets with the renewal of converting street lighting to LED technology, replacing single-head parking meters, and the replacement and/or upgrade of existing machines to pay and display machines. Adequate public transport remains high on our radar, with Council renewing existing bus stops across the Toowoomba region. In addition to this, we will continue upgrading our bus stops to ensure they meet disability compliance. In the ensuing year, Council will continue diligently working on the Footpath Crossovers Renewal program throughout the region. This is an ongoing program of renewing numerous curb crossings to comply with disability access requirements across the existing road network. Ensuring residents are able to move throughout the region is an ongoing focus for Council. This financial year, we will continue renewing substandard sections of footpaths across the region. Whilst the region continues to experience the effects of severe drought, Council is still conscious of the need to progress its stormwater renewal program and has committed to further work. Over the next 12 months, we will also be undertaking $1.44 million rural road seal upgrades in locations across the region. Major infrastructure projects are critical for our region, and I'm so pleased to see a concerted effort in this budget towards upgrading our networks in our regional areas. This is something our infrastructure portfolio team have been advocating for many years, and I'm delighted to join this team to ensure these works are a priority across our region. I would like to also acknowledge and thank all within the Toowoomba Regional Council, and in particular the ISG General Manager, Mike Brady, and his team, for their hard work and commitment to the continued success of our council and our region. In this budget, we've carefully managed the needs of all the areas throughout the Toowoomba region as we strive to make our region a better place for all our residents.
Thanks very much, Councillor Taylor. I'll hand over now to Councillor O'Shea, Environment and Community Services.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I please start by endorsing the acknowledgements made by my fellow councillors before me, all very well said and pointed out, but if I can just make a special mention to Deputy Mayor Councillor Jeff McDonald and Councillor Kerry Shine, obviously in the position that they've been, as we found out from the Chair, 50 days. They've done an amazing job in 50 days in leading this council team, well supported, of course, by those around the table. But I think as a community, we can be very, very thankful that we have two individuals, obviously, with the knowledge, the passion, the compassion for our region. Know that we are in safe hands. So thank you to you guys and the staff for the work that's been put in. It's my great pleasure to be given the opportunity to say a few words this morning. Thank you, Mr Mayor. And look, it will be another big year for the area of council that covers the people, the prosperity, property and popularity of our region. So in the 2020-21 budget, Council has allocated $11.5 million for construction of the new Highfields Library, and this new facility will replace the existing temporary library, which supports around 52,600 visitors each year. Council respects the importance to the RSL and the broader community of the State Heritage-listed Toowoomba Soldier Memorial Hall. This year, $4.25 million will continue major refurbishments on this prominent memorial. In 2020-21, Council will continue construction of Carnival Lane at 174 Margaret Street in the heart of the Toowoomba CBD at the cost of $1 million. The Carnival Lane project will be complete by the end of the year, weather permitting, and it will provide an essential connection from Margaret Street through to Jessie Street, Annan Street businesses and public car parks. This year, Council will continue to upgrade the Empire Theatre with $1.1 million assigned to maintenance of this premium theatre facility. Most of the work will be back of house and includes upgrades to the performance dressing rooms and rehearsal rooms. A $1.5 million upgrade to the Millmerran swimming pool will be a long-term investment into this fantastic community facility. The project includes the renovation of the main pool and the toddler pool with an upgrade of associated pumps, filters and pipework. It'll also include a further $950,000 earmarked for construction of new amenities at the Millmerran swimming pool with significant accessibility upgrades. The Oakey swimming pool will receive $847,000 for the renewal of change rooms and construction of a new kiosk. The Yarraman pool will also benefit from $415,000 that will fund new change rooms and a new ramp for improved accessibility. The Clifton Museum is a link to the town's past. This year, $500,000 has been allocated to finalise the replacement of the former Clifton Museum building. Cambuya Hall will receive $220,000 in this year's budget for painting the external walls and the replacement of roof sheeting, and this work will maintain and respect the historical features of the building. A budget allocation of $1.2 million will see the completion of the new Charlton Depot, including optimisation of the required solar power plant and equipment that will power the facility. The new modern, intelligent and sustainable facility will meet the current and future needs of our staff and the communities of which we serve. The Community Grants Program will have $740,000 made available across 2 rounds of funding for the 7 categories of grants. Round 1 of those community grants will open in July and community groups are encouraged to apply. This year's budget also includes $30,000 for a community celebration trailer. $33,900 has also been set aside for a Toowoomba CBD mobility map. In 2020-21, the recently established Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Advisory Committee will enjoy its 2nd year of operation. And Mr Mayor, our region is a rich tapestry of cultural diversity. And so far this year, Council has conducted and supported 138 programs that reached out to more than 23,000 people through our multicultural services activities. Council's Youth Services team is continuing to find ways to get the youth involved in our community and giving opportunities for our many young people. In 1920, Council supported 97 initiatives for youth, with more than 16,000 young people participating at these events. We are grateful to the community for the support that Council receives from its many volunteers. Our community has a strong culture of volunteering, with 583 volunteers that assist Council throughout the year. And Mr Mayor, finally, I'd just like to acknowledge as well the General Manager of Environment and Community Services, Mr Nick Hauser, and his team for their work and what will be a busy year ahead. Thank you.
Councillor O'Shea. Councillor McMahon.
Thank you, Mr Chair. May I echo the sentiments of the Chamber and acknowledge the work done by the tremendous staff of our Council. Acknowledge the work of our councillors past and present on the work that they've put in on this budget, and deliver a budget that I'd very much like to speak for and announce some amazing projects in our parks, libraries and galleries that respects the necessities to the region but allows some of the fun stuff to happen as well. So if I may speak for, very proud to announce that our escarpment, which is the envy of many, will undergo a $3.9 million upgrade in this year, which includes a variety of projects, including the Tobruk Memorial Drive Lookout up at Picnic Point will be constructed. Multi-use escarpment trails in both Redwood and Jubilee Parks will be created, and as well as new recreational trails on our Tabletop Mountain. Very excited to announce that an amenities block within Jubilee Park, which has been on the cards for a long time, will happen under that $3.9 million. Can I speak for the $3.23 million that will be spent maintaining the park and park upgrades? I'm very happy to announce that these are a mix of regional and Toowoomba parks that put the regions on equal footing in our great region. Can I speak for the projects in Wairima, Harristown, Gowrie Junction, Hodgson Vale, Pittsworth, Kingsthorpe, Oakey, Clifton, Carney Springs, Glenvale, East Toowoomba and Goombungie, among others. Play facilities renewal will happen across our region at several parks from Yarraman, Darling Heights, Glenvale, Rangeville, Newtown, Bowenville, Oakey, Nobby and Cecil Plains. Some park upgrades will happen in Maringandan and Wairima, as well as park amenities to a cost of almost $1 million in Millmerran, Ravensbourne, Pittsworth and Cotswold Hills, which includes toilet blocks. Can I speak for the $1.94 million upgrade happening to our Nell E. Robinson Park, which is host to many local, state and national netball and other sports competitions? Very proud to announce $1.3 million in fencing upgrades across our region, including our wild dog fence. Very happy to announce $2.8 million will be spent on the final Stage 7 upgrades to Queen's Park, which is going to include some amazing playground equipment ready just in time for spring. Similarly, as mentioned by our finance team, I'd like to announce $160K for the Kingsthorpe Recreational Reserve upgrade and maintenance, which has been a long time in the making. Finally, announcing $940,000 to fire management, renewal and upgrade to council's access to fire paths, which is a great need for our region. There is a little bit of money in the budget to announce some purchasing of high-quality original artwork by our Toowoomba Art and Goombungie and Crow's Nest galleries, as well as some money for radio identification frequency and the MyTR Library app for some upgrades to our libraries to make them more accessible to our region. I'm very happy to announce that our parks, libraries and galleries has some bold ambitions for the financial year ahead, and very happy to speak for the budget. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor McMahon. Councillor Megan.
Mr Mayor, and thank you. My microphone on? No?
Talk loud.
Just keep going. Talk louder. Thank you for the chance to, the opportunity to speak today. I'd like to acknowledge you and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor McDonald, and Councillor Shine, the fine work that they have done in this portfolio. As the Chair of Planning and Development Committee, I'd like to also acknowledge our General Manager, Stuart Summers, who leads our team with his usual coruscating manner. So I'd like to highlight some of I'll talk about some of the highlights for our team this year. So our Strategic Planning and Economic Development branch will be focusing on 3 major projects, including the establishment of a regional growth plan, preparing the new planning scheme, and a major review of the local government infrastructure plan, or the LGIP as we call it. There will be multiple opportunities for the community and interested stakeholders to have a say about the future of our region. You mentioned it earlier, Mr Mayor, our region's population is expected to increase by an additional 54,000 people over the next 25 years. The new planning scheme will be prepared over 4 stages. The first stage starting in 2021 and will include strategic work to inform how development will be managed. Council will develop other strategic projects that contribute to our livability, including our climate action strategy. We will establish a clear policy position to inform strategic land use and infrastructure planning and sustainable design to inform the new planning scheme. Other projects include the next phase of the Green Infrastructure Strategy. The implementation will focus on integrating it as part of the new planning scheme. Excitingly, we are attracting CBD investment. Council will progress the implementation of the Toowoomba City Centre Master Plan and the Railway Parklands Priority Development Area. Council will work to attract investment in urban renewal and city centre projects, including accelerated inner city living opportunities. And lastly, and interestingly, not as a result of the community survey, but in line with the community survey, the Development Services branch is rolling out an improved service delivery model, including the issue of draft conditions, refined pre-lodgement processes, and the establishment of major projects protocol to assist in expediting the approvals process. Mr Mayor, I'm proud to work alongside the Planning and Development team to ensure the Toowoomba region grows in a sustainable and manageable way for the health, amenity and lifestyle of all of our residents.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Carl.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I won't stick to script. From the onset, I'll say I reluctantly support this budget. There are a lot of good initiatives in this budget, particularly in tough times. But particularly in tough times and with COVID pandemic, and it's not if, it's when the next challenge hits us. It's disappointing to see items, as Councillor Taylor's mentioned, like the Quarry Gardens, that have made the bottom line of the budget. I always talk about nice to-dos and need to-dos and what is the most important. However, the majority rules and the majority support the Quarry Gardens initiative. I support the budget because given the accessibility to the rebate that the Deputy Mayor Councillor Jeff has mentioned, and the 50 million investment strategy into our region with the COVID initiatives. But this is no excuse for including the nice to-dos in the future. I'll be actively watching and participating in the governance and implementation of these initiatives and in future discussions, budget discussions. I reluctantly support. As I said, the budget is a good budget. There are lots of good initiatives, but it's disappointing, particularly in tough times, to see some of these things like Quarry Gardens make the cut. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Kyle. Councillor McDonald, would you just like to sum up briefly and
Very briefly, thank you.
we'll move on to the motions then?
Thank you, and thanks very much, councillors. I think there's certainly been some added flavour to the discussion of the budget, just not around numbers, but actually around practical measures that this budget will actually introduce into our community. An area of clear focus for this council is the community, and this budget is clearly focused on the community. We have certainly gone through the phase one or stage one of the pandemic response, and this is stage two, and very pleased to hear the comments around the support of the $50 million pandemic. We are breaking new ground here as a council. This has never been done before. It's a clear focus on external delivery. It's a clear focus on supporting local business, who employ local people, supporting local families. And that is a significant step forward for this organisation. And I would suggest to you that it's probably the largest service delivery review measure that this council has undertaken to date. And that brings me to my final point, Mr Mayor, and that is around service delivery review. And we will see over the coming months that measures that have been put in place, not just by this budget today, once it's adopted, but by the measures we've already put in place over the last 50 days, that this council that's been elected by the people is keen to keep rolling up our sleeves and doing the best for our community. And the organisation is following suit. We're in step and we're doing it as a community that cares for our community. So, Mr Mayor, with those few words, happy to close and move forward for the next item.
Thanks very much. And look, thank you all very much for your input, and I will say a little bit about that at the end of the meeting. We move now to the 16 motions that are necessary to be passed for this budget to pass. And motion one, the adoption of the budget and revenue statement for the 2020-2021 year. Do I have a mover? Councillor McDonald, a seconder, please. Councillor O'Hara-Sullivan. Any comments? Not. I will put that to the vote. Those in favour? It's carried. Thank you very much. Move then to motion two, differential rates 2020-21. Do I have a mover?
Happy to move.
Councillor McDonald and Councillor Melissa Taylor. Any comments? Those in favour? The motion is carried. Move then to separate charges in item motion 3, 2021 financial year. Do I have a mover? Councillor O'Hara-Sullivan and Councillor Shine. Those in favour? It's carried. Motion 4, special charges, the 2020-21 year. Do I have a mover? Councillor Von Hoff and Councillor McMahon. Comments? Those in favour? It's carried. Motion 5, trade waste utility charges for the 2021 year. A mover, please. Councillor Von Hoff and Councillor Carl. Those in favour? That's carried. Motion 6, Sewerage Utility Charges 2021 financial year. A mover, please. Councillor Melissa Taylor and Councillor Von Hoff. Move then. Those in favour? That's carried. Move then to motion 7, Waste Management Utility Charges to 2021 financial year. Do we have a mover, please? Councillor Von Hoff again and Councillor Megan O'Hara-Sullivan. Those in favour? That's carried. Water Utility Charges, motion 8 for the 2021 financial year. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Melissa Taylor and Councillor McDonald. Comments? Those in favour? Motion is carried. Move then to motion 9, which refers to discounts. Would someone like to move that, please? Councillor McMahon has moved that. Seconder, please. Councillor Shine. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Move then to item 10, which refers to interest. Do I have a mover? Councillor Melissa Taylor and Councillor Shine. Those in favour? That's carried. Move then to item 11, levy and payment. Someone like to move, please? Councillor O'Shea. Councillor McMahon. Comments? Those in favour? It's carried. Move then to motion 12, which is rate concession. Would somebody wish to move? Councillor McMahon has moved. Councillor O'Hara-Sullivan has seconded. Those in favour? It's carried. Item 13, total value of change in rates and utility charges. Motion 13, Councillor O'Shea and Councillor Shine. Those in favour? It's carried. Motion 14, statement of estimated financial position. Someone like to move, please? Councillor McDonald and Councillor O'Shea. Comments? Those in favour? It's carried. Motion 15, debt policy. Pardon me. Do I have a mover? Councillor Shine and Councillor Melissa Taylor. Those in favour? It's carried. Motion 16, application of Code of Competitive Conduct to business activities and council. Is there a mover? Councillor Von Hoff and Councillor Megan O'Hara-Sullivan. Those in favour? That's carried. Well, councillors, that brings us to the end of the meeting, and I think for those of us who have been around the table for a while and you've heard the comments from the more mature councillors around the table, this has been a difficult period of time. There's never been circumstances like this in our lifetime, and I think the way that this has been handled, I'm very proud of the work of the staff, all the staff. Very proud of the work of the councillors and the way that we've brought this together. We've achieved it because we've worked together. Budgets begin as soon as this one's put down. It's passed now. We begin thinking about the next budget. We certainly are reviewing the budget on a regular basis to see what needs to be changed. But this has been a difficult circumstance that this budget has been framed in, and I actually congratulate and agree with many of the things that have been said here today. We ought to be justly proud that we're part of an organisation that has the responsibility that the Toowoomba Regional Council has. Part of an organisation that oversees such a wonderful area in many, many respects. So to the staff, to Brian, the whole team, thank you very much. We have an enormous responsibility on our shoulders collectively here, and for those of us who are elected, we know full well we wouldn't do it if it weren't for the great staff that we have in the Toowoomba Regional Council. So thank you very much. I'd suggest to you that this has been a very successful meeting and there's been a lot of work gone into this to make sure it happens. So once again, thank you, and I'll declare the meeting closed.